So, welcome back to another conversation with Chris. I'm here today with Andrew Hales from the LAHWF YouTube channel. He's kind of an OG. So you started your channel how long ago?
Um, well, officially on YouTube, it was like 2009, and
Yeah.
I uploaded some cell phone videos here and there, but I don't really count the beginning of it until 2012 when I like got a DSLR camera and I had a guy help me film some stuff, some pranks, and
Yeah.
then yeah, that's when like the quality rose rose
All
up.
right. I'm actually curious about the first few years. What type of stuff were you doing then? Those
Um,
early days of YouTube,
you mean 2012?
2009, 2010, like before you
Well,
started taking it more seriously, I guess.
well, it was like once a year at that point. Like,
Okay. All right.
yeah, it was like I think I uploaded an interview of like my friend in college. Another one was like a GoPro video of me skating, and then yeah, and like I we worked on we did almost picking up chicks. That was in 2012, and that got picked up by World Star and got like it got like 20,000 views, and that was a big deal to me. And
Yeah.
after like a couple months, I just unlisted like the 5 or 6 videos before almost picking up chicks, and just had that one be the first one.
Okay, so that was around 2012, and things kind of got exciting for you because you started getting a bit of traction.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like around the 10th upload, or yeah, the 10th, I was doing it every Monday, and around the like 10th or 11th week, I did holding people's hand, and that blew up to like 5 million in a week, and
Wow.
it was on all the news stations and stuff, and it's just this 22-year-old kid, and yeah, I looked at my AdSense after the week. There's like 30 grand in it, and it was crazy. Yeah, I was like, wow. So I put all my eggs in YouTube at that point. I was also doing like Italian ice push cart stuff at like fairs and stuff around that time. And at that point, I sold it, and I was like, all right, I gotta just only do YouTube from now on.
Oh, so that was your own little business, the Italian Ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought into it like from an entrepreneur magazine. It was like $5,000 to
All
like
right.
get your own
Oh, so
push
like a
cart and stuff.
franchise. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. So I guess you've always kind of been entrepreneurial. Did you ever have kind of a job when you were in your teenage years, like working for someone?
Yeah, of course. My first job when I was 16, I was a cashier at a grocery store. Um, then when I was in senior in high school, I was a host at a restaurant.
All right.
Um, and yeah, I worked at TJ Maxx for a little bit. Yeah, a couple of things here and there.
Probably enough to know that you didn't want to be a regular employee. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
having a job
So then
sucks.
tell me about the time when everything started to kind of gain steam, when you had you said you checked your AdSense, there was 30 grand in there, and like what was the feeling at the time? Like what were you going through? Your headspace and everything.
Oh man, I was like, yeah, I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. I was so excited. My life was changing, and but yeah, we just kept doing it every Monday, um, and one would pop off like every couple months in those days. Like the next one that popped off was doing stuff in the elevator, awkward elevator, and that got like 4 or 5 million in a week, and there was another 30 grand came in, and then a few months later we did this like actually picking up a girl or whatever, which I didn't think anything of, but people like were going crazy over it, and that got like I don't know what that's at now, like 10 million, but yeah, we just kind of just kept doing pranks every Monday for that first year. and
Yeah.
that was the plan. Yeah.
So then, obviously, your channel grew quite a bit. I mean, a lot of creators, it probably takes a couple years before they're really getting much traction, right? And your success happened much quicker.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I didn't really. I guess it did happen pretty quick, cause I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And at that age, being 22 or whatever, and having a pretty decent amount of money, I
yeah,
imagine that was kind of a lot to handle.
yeah. I mean, I didn't feel. Yeah, I didn't. It's weird because I didn't really feel any different than I do now, or it was just like, all right, well, great. That part of my life is I don't have to worry about for a while,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just started saving money, I guess, and I did own property for like 2 years, and then I sold it because I mean, around like, because later, like 4 years later, I needed the money again.
All right.
Yeah.
So then, say, how long were you doing pranks, and for how long was that your main focus?
It was like 1, 2, 3. It was like the first 3 years, 3 or 4 years, up until about 2016. Then I started dabbling in interviews, and then 2017 I finally like only did interviews, and 18 and 19 only interviews, and then 2020 kind of was just this clusterfuck of vlogs and whatever experimental stuff, throwing mud at the wall, and then I settled on some these street interviews for the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was kind of the reason for the transition? You just get tired of doing doing stuff, having to. I imagine it's probably kind of stressful trying to think of new ideas and.
Yeah, I mean,
come up with.
what's funny is I had like an infinite amount of prank ideas. I just didn't. I had no will to do them anymore.
Yeah.
Pranks, it's like once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all in a way. And yeah, I was just getting sick of it. I was getting older, and I just wanted to find something that's more sustainable, like interviews. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask. If you thought it was kind of a maturity thing, you start to not age out of it, but start to want to be a bit more creative in a different way and see see different avenues you can kind of go.
Yeah.
In the future. I mean, I guess that's kind of the evolution.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that have always done pranks, and they've done really well, and so it's kind of expensive to switch up your format. Because you're changing your audience and stuff, but it's, I don't know. I just follow my heart and do what feels that I want to do, and try to keep it fresh.
Yeah, well, I think that's important to be authentic. Yeah, I mean, I probably first saw one of your videos. I would guess it was probably over a decade ago. And then I've seen you over the years, so I've seen some kind of a transformation. And you've gone through a lot of challenges over the years as well, right?
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah.
It's like mental issues, whatever.
Yeah. And how would you say you're feeling mentally these days?
I'm pretty good. I'd say I'm like at an 8 out of 10.
All right. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the wagon. Haven't had alcohol in almost a year. Been working out a lot. Just yeah, I'm sharpening the saw.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've also spent a couple years like without drinking and everything. I'm curious how, if you see, I'm sure you see a lot of positives, right?
Yeah.
To life, to your improvement. Do you see any negatives?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when you watch a movie and they're drinking in the movie, it kind of pulls at your, it kind of erupts some cravings in you a little bit, and that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But and it's a very social thing, you know. A lot of people.
That's what I was getting at. I feel like
Yeah,
social life, everybody drinks. I mean, most things in many cultures revolve around drinking, and at least me
yeah,
personally, I found when I wasn't drinking, being in those situations, it's just like so boring. There's such a different energy level if I am sober and around people drinking, and then it's hard to find sober people
well,
to hang out with or what to do, you know. So I
yeah.
don't have to
Well,
do that.
especially hanging around drunk people when you're sober is the worst.
Yeah,
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 they're on a totally different frequency.
yeah.
So yeah, that's challenging about it. But
Um,
but you just gotta find
so
people that don't drink as
yeah,
much, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Do you
So
find that's difficult at all? Because I know, what did you recently move to Nashville?
we moved here the end of 2021.
Okay,
Yeah. So
so
we've been here about 2.5 years, I think. Yeah.
did you know people there before you moved there, or you said it was just kind of like a dart on the wall kind of thing?
Yeah, just a dart on the wall, pretty much. I know we just at least wanted a state with no income tax,
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna ask about that as well. Yeah.
and because California was eating me alive, with taxes, and yeah, we just found we were looking at New Hampshire, we were looking at Florida, I think,
Yeah.
and Tennessee just seemed cool, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you feel like you've settled into a pretty good life there? Like, are you finding a better balance, or?
Yeah, I mean we're forming a network of friends out here, and we like how there's like four seasons, and
Yeah.
you know all the stuff to do in Nashville. Also, Nashville's kind of it's growing really fast. Like there's a lot of
Yeah. That's what
up
I've
and
heard.
coming stuff, and especially in the entertainment sphere. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think I read your Wikipedia page at least. Did you grow up in Utah?
mostly yeah. I kind of bounced around growing up. I was in New Hampshire till I was 10 years old, Utah till I was 15, then Connecticut until I was 17, and then back to Utah till I was like 25, and then I moved to LA for 6 years, and now I'm here.
All right. So when you moved to LA, I imagine that was you as an adult, like moving out on your own.
Well, no, I lived on my own like at 18. I went to college for 3 years, but it was like an hour from my parents' place. Yeah,
All
in
right.
Utah.
In Utah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then you were in LA for probably, I don't know, a decade, something like that.
Oh, no, I was there from 2015 to 2021. So
Okay.
about 6 years. Yeah.
Oh, so when you first kind of started getting serious about YouTube, you were probably what? You were in Utah then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
First,
then so
the
you
the
were.
golden years were in Salt Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So,
is this how do you see it, that the the better years were behind you?
um, yeah. I mean, I try to, no bullshit. I try to see it how it is and
Yeah.
work from there. Obviously, I'd love to make some comeback somehow, but there's all, I guess, there's a million different factors that I put in the way of myself.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of people do that.
yeah,
So you were in LA when COVID was going on,
yes, and the riots.
I imagine that was one one reason why you decided to leave as well, because it seems like a lot of people started leaving then.
Yeah, the big exodus. Yeah, we were just sick of LA. It's so expensive. It's dirty. There's
Yeah.
and the rules, the lockdown, it closed down so many businesses. We're just kind of fed up with it. And the rent was just only going up and taxes, whatever. So
I hear you.
yeah, we just wanted a more quiet life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So then, obviously, moving to Tennessee is a big reason. A big reason is because of tax breaks, and then you also have kind of a more of a free life, a more quiet life. You know, you don't have population density there is nothing close to Southern California.
yeah,
You have fresh air. You have, yeah,
the air quality is amazing here.
yeah,
But except for today, it gets really hot and a little
Yeah.
too cold. But again, I kind of like the seasons and putting on different outfits. Because in LA, it's 72 every day of the year, and
yeah. I spent time down there as well, and I found like in my imagination always it's like it's perfect weather, and then you're there and it's like it doesn't change, so it kind of gets like okay, you know what to expect every day. There's just always going to be sun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want clouds. Sometimes it's nice to have a thunderstorm. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's nice to have rain.
I really like the rain,
Yeah.
and so that's a lot different than LA. It gets a little Groundhog Day-ish in LA with the weather.
Yeah.
How long were you in LA?
Well, I've spent time there over the years. I did a couple road trips where I was kind of living in a van, and so I've probably spent about a year down there in total. I had a good friend living in Long Beach, and one of the times I was down there, probably like 6 months or so, and then another time he was in like Santa Ana, and then I spent time volunteering on a farm in like an urban farm down in kind of San Diego area.
Like
So I
weed?
spent a decent. No, well, there was, but no, it was like an urban farm that they had, veg, a rabbitry, chickens,
Huh.
fruit trees, stuff like that. So it was kind of a community type house where, they would barter for things, trade for, and try to make like different income streams from the house for the people. So it was a pretty cool situation.
Sounds like it's almost like a cult.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
commune.
Well, literally, yeah, it's like a communal type. What would you call it? Intentional community kind of thing. But no religious or no like. It's just a common, a way for people to live a different life without having to have regular corporate kind of jobs,
Yeah.
and still have some community and do things and learn things. I mean, there's a lot to learn when you're doing all that stuff. Like,
What was your role? I guess your trade.
I did a lot. I worked a lot with the rabbits. Like they would sell them to I don't know if it was a Turkish restaurant or a French restaurant. But yeah, I like birthed a lot of the. I would always check to see which are pregnant. You put
Wow.
the duck in the cage with the females, and then it just like humps for 3 seconds, and then falls over and makes like a grunt. And
Damn.
then we check them to be pregnant, and we raised them as meat rabbits mostly. But then, so I would also have to dispatch them and skin them and clean them and bring them to the restaurant. And but I did I was there to learn, so I was I kind of did everything around there. So
Cool.
yeah, it was just a few months there, but there's a lot of things to learn in a situation like that.
Yeah. Sounds kind of fun.
Are you into any of that? Do you have any plants? Do you have any?
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to do it'd be really fun to do a homestead and grow your own food and all that.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, someday. But right now, we're just, we're in an apartment, so.
Yeah. So you've had serious thoughts about that, like off-grid living, or not even necessarily totally off-grid, but
Yeah, definitely. I thought about getting a tiny house. Want to doing one of those things out in the boondocks.
yeah,
Van life, that'd be fun. But we'd want to get a house first, just
yeah,
to have some capital
yeah.
that we're building. So
No, I hear you. I've thought about that a lot over the years as well, and it's always said that real estate is a good investment, and I think it can be. But for your like primary dwelling, it's kind of more of a liability, because it also it's like 30 years. I mean, if you can pay cash for a house, great, or have less of a mortgage. But if you're a typical person, you think about how much you pay over those 30 years. And it's like the first 15 years, the majority of your payment is just interest. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so for me, that's kind of I don't know, something I think about. How good of an investment is it? But also, it's nice to have a place to live. It's just so many expenses come with owning.
Yeah,
a home.
but
There's so much commitment.
it has to be better than renting, right? Because renting, you're 100% not making or building any wealth.
But then on top of ownership, you have property taxes, you have maintenance, you have all that. So in some economies, they say renting is better. I think it just depends on the market and when. I also still think home ownership is better than renting in general too. But I think that's part of the reason why I'm living the way that I am, in like a cargo trailer kind of thing. And like traveling around in van life, because it's like, it's also, I don't want to pay rent either, and I don't want to have the commitment of, say 30 years in one place. I mean, not like you have to spend 30 years in one place, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't people flip houses all the time? Like, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you don't want to live there anymore, you can just sell it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, I guess you might lose money if they tack on like interest built into the price. You know? Yeah.
I think the way that I've broken it down is to think like, how many hours of my life am I spent working just to pay for this? You know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to say it's a bad investment, but I don't know, it's something I question, especially nowadays when things have gotten like so much more expensive. Like here in Denver, I mean, Denver's not even the most expensive city, but it's like you can't get much under $500,000, and to think about
same
to
Nashville's the same.
Nashville's gotten pretty expensive as well, right?
Yeah.
I think both of these places 10 years ago were like, not very expensive at all. And it's crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with. I think I read somewhere that like a third of millennials are living with their parents right now, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And even, what is the generation after that? Gen Y, or the younger generation? What are they
Zoomers?
called? Zoomers, I guess. Yeah.
Gen Z.
I mean,
yeah.
they got it tough. I mean,
I know. I don't know what's gonna happen to them. Like.
Yeah.
But I guess people have been kind of saying, it's the end of the world for centuries. So I don't know.
I agree with that too. There's always
every generation
doom,
thinks it's the end of the world. You know,
doom right on the horizon, and we keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And things are fine, even at a time like this when inflation. Everybody talks about inflation, and it's like, historically, even in this country, this level of inflation is not high. And I was just in Argentina over the winter, and it's like their inflation is like 250%, and we're talking about like 3, 4, 5% inflation and going crazy over it.
Well, we do have to keep it in check the best we can, I guess. I don't know, but that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
But also, I don't know if you know much about the Venezuelan migrants. Like a few years ago, inflation was over 1,000,000% in Venezuela. So I mean, that's why that whole economy is totally wrecked.
Yeah, I mean,
So
how do you? Yeah, that's crazy. Like, how do you fix that?
when they earn like $6 a month, like what they earn per month is enough to buy them like a loaf of bread. And they were having to go into, I don't know if you saw any videos of what it was like there. I think now maybe it's getting a little bit better. But because of that kind of inflation, they would have to have a backpack full of notes, full of bills, which to us would seem like tens of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
They would have to have like backpacks full of cash to go in to buy like literally a loaf of bread.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So another thing about like how much we complain here about everything, but the reality is we do have it pretty damn good here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
We do.
We're very fortunate as humans to have been born here.
Yes.
And
Wait, so in Venezuela, does that mean like the dollar is worth a lot there? Like you can get stuff for cheap?
well, yeah. I mean, you can't really. It's not a place that many people travel to now because it's so
Just run
yeah,
down,
it's
yeah.
such a mess. And I mean, there were so many people on the streets, and there was a lot of crime. And I think they kind of say that a lot of those people, a lot of the criminals, have left because there's like nothing more to rob. And then, I mean, some of them, of course, are here. Some of them are spread out in other countries in South America. But it's
Yeah.
like I've heard that it's kind of getting better now because all of the criminals have left. Because yeah, again, there's.
Mm.
But no, it's typically for the last 8-10 years probably hasn't been a country that tourists go to because it had been so dangerous and everything. But yes, if you had U.S. dollars there, it can go pretty far. The same was in Argentina until just a couple months ago. Like they have a really strange system. They had like the tourist dollar. Like basically, if you brought U.S. dollars there, you could exchange it on the black market, or they call it the blue dollar, for like 3 times what, 3 times the value. You get like 3 times your money, 2 to 3 times.
Is that, well, yeah, you were there, right?
Yeah, in Argentina, yeah.
Yeah, was it, and it was pretty cheap when you were there?
Well, by the time I got there, that whole tourist dollar kind of thing was kind of ended. So maybe I got like 10% more for my money. So even a few months ago, it was the same. But they have a new president now who's changing things a lot. And so, but I would still say it's a pretty good value country, pretty affordable for like what it is. It's like, especially Buenos Aires is very European. So you feel like you're in Europe when you're in South America. It doesn't feel like most of the other like Latin American countries or cities. It's quite different. It's very I don't know what you'd say.
Modern?
Chic, elegant, not elegant. Modern, yeah. But I mean, most of the buildings are probably hundreds of years old, like European style, right? Built by the Spanish. And then a lot of the immigrants were like German, Italian. There's a lot of Italian, kind of similar to how the U.S. immigration was in the U.S. So it got a European feel with like a lot of cafes and like, outside seating and dining and all that. Yeah, it has a very different feel compared.
How long were you there for?
Just a month. But I was in Brazil before that as well, and also for just about a month. And yeah, southern Brazil as well is more of a European feel, whereas like you'd be surprised when most people are like white.
Yeah.
which most people don't think about from
in southern Brazil?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, because there as well, like a lot of like Germans settled, say 100 years ago or whatever. So they have a lot of European settlement more in the south, I think, than the north.
Where are you right now? Like, what internet are you using?
I'm in Denver. I'm at a house. I'm house sitting.
Oh, house sitting, like on Rover?
Yeah. No, it's called Trusted House Sitters, but I mean it is mostly it's a popular one, mostly around the country. But I would say you can do it all around the world. Like for
Wow.
people that don't want to get pay for an Airbnb, a lot of people do trusted house sitting. That's just another way, another hack, I guess.
How many times have you done that?
This is the first time this summer, but last year I probably did 10 times or something.
And they just, in exchange for letting you sleep there, you're sitting the house.
Yeah, and watching a dog. Normally it's pets. I mean, almost always
Okay.
it's pets. But it's kind of like an Airbnb profile where you, they have like a profile of what pets there are, a little bit about them, talks
Right.
about the house, what amenities there are, what you can do, and then, of course, people who have house set there leave reviews.
Yeah.
So you have, and you get reviewed as well as a house sitter.
All
It's
your
kinda
review.
nice.
Yeah, like didn't you have to get a few good reviews before you could get any?
Surprisingly, my first time, like I probably applied to a few different people, and I think within the first week, somebody accepted me. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty easy.
Wow.
But like most people that I've house sat for, they're like, oh, can we do a Zoom or a video call?
Yeah.
Kind of get to know you and feel the vibe, I guess. But yeah,
Right.
once that first family had me sit with them, I was like, all right, good. At least I should probably get a review from this, and then got a review, and then it's because it costs a decent amount of money, right, to board a dog or
Right.
to. So
Huh.
it's good savings for
Yeah.
them for sure.
But yeah, you've never gotten paid on trusted house sitters.
Well, one woman tipped me a couple $100, which was
Wow.
nice, but it's not expected. Yeah,
How long were you there for?
probably 10 days or something, maybe a week, 10 days. So it was
That's
pretty
interesting.
reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think maybe with something like WAG or some of these things, you can get paid to do it.
Yeah, no, I've
But-
done some rover stuff. I'll go to
All right.
people's houses and take care of their dogs.
And stay over there? Or is it just to
I
like
think-
walk the dog? You do like
Just to walk that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I could have probably slept there, but I didn't really need to because it was so close to
Okay,
where
yeah.
I live. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Are you involved much in the gig economy? Like things like that?
yeah, I mean, Airbnb. We rent out our room here.
All
We
right.
have a 2-bedroom, and then that's a big chunk of my income right now. And then DoorDash, Instacart, and Rover. So
All right.
yeah.
So getting back to you two, I'm kind of curious because you had obviously like a pretty quick rise, and then did things quickly start dropping? I'm not I'm not trying to like
No, it's all right. It kind of just wax and wanes.
okay. So it's tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of live your life and you're just constantly thinking of what you can do and post and
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If that must get frustrating, especially after you've been doing it, man, a lot of years. At
12
some
years
point,
now.
You must kind of I mean, you get used to the you understand the platform pretty well, I imagine. But then you have to to constantly be thinking about things to do must be kind of exhausting, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. You kind of just you just keep exercising, and sometimes
Yeah.
ideas come to you, and you execute them. Yeah, it's like it all starts with your health.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling good, then you're ready to create and make
Yeah.
something. And if you're not feeling good, then you're just gonna lay on the couch all day. And
Yeah.
so there's this. I'm like constantly just trying to make myself feel good enough through healthy means and unhealthy means to get some videos done.
Yeah.
So
That's another thing that's been kind of a theme throughout the years, right? Is the mental health aspect and depression or anxiety or whatever. And we talked a little bit about it the other day. and you ask, when I said like a lot of people in most of the world, I would say, I haven't experienced the kind of mental health issues as I do here, to the scale that it is here. And you asked what we can do about it, and I also realized one thing is like teaching presence. At least that's something I really learned in Asia, and like understanding the present moment. Here in the U.S., I think we're so focused on money, and we're often living in the future. Right. Living in the future is going to bring anxiety, and living in the past is kind of depression, like regrets and stuff like that. So I don't think much of our culture really teaches presence. So I think a lot of people are going back and forth with future and past thinking, and forgetting to, or not knowing how to be in the present moment, and not understanding the value of that.
Yeah, that I agree. It's funny, like, because it's so simple and easy to like meditate, but it takes work.
Yeah. Also to even like put yourself to just do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. I don't know, because it's so easy on paper, but it's difficult.
And it can feel so good as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
I've done it for like 10 minutes, and I'll feel like tranquilized after, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it can have a drug-like effect, definitely. Even like breathing exercises and stuff, you can really change the chemistry of your brain through things like this.
you meditate every day?
No, I rarely do. I've learned years ago, and there's been times where I kind of did, but probably for the last at least 10 years, I've mostly always feel very balanced. Like, so I mentioned to you before that I was living in South Korea, and I was going through a lot of things at that time, like trying to figure things out about myself, about what's going on in my mind.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really understand what anxiety was, or think I was anxious, until I started to understand the present moment, and started to like identify my thoughts and be like, okay, that is, because a lot of times it's a subconscious kind of just running wild. And then I would start to identify my thoughts, like pay attention to them and say, oh, okay, that's me in the future. That's me worrying. That's me anxious. Bring myself back to the present. Or that's me thinking about something in the past that I can't change, right? You can't really predict the future. You can't change the past. So it's like coming to an acceptance. And yeah, I mean, for probably at least the last 10 years or so, I'm pretty balanced. And if I do get to a point where I'm stressed or I feel like off, I can meditate. It's a nice tool to have. But yeah, some things flipped in my brain over those years. As I told you, also my like kind of learning to just live as an animal and not think about what society says are the rules, or what one culture says is right or wrong, to just kind of think about the basics. And I really simplified my life, and so I don't have much stress, and I kind of pay some attention to different philosophies. I'm not like religious or like so deep into any philosophies, but I like to pay attention to some that, I think make me see things more clearly or something. Was religion a big part of your life growing up? I read you grew up Mormon.
Yes. I grew up Mormon. I became inactive as soon as I moved out at 18, pretty much.
Okay.
Most of my family's still Mormon. And
was that ever was that difficult? Or
Yeah.
What made you question things that at 18 you wanted to kind of break away?
I was like 16. I was kind of questioning things like, the basic stuff like, well, why is there 10 other religions and they all believe in God too? Like just kind of common sense stuff like.
Yeah.
And that mixed with just wanting to go out in the world and party.
Yeah.
and watch R-rated movies, whatever, and just experience the world.
Yeah.
So.
And then at some point, NC-17, huh?
Right. I just didn't want to be repressed from the world anymore. So.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Like, I remember when I must have been first or second grade or something. Like, we were learning about Greek mythology and, like, the Greek gods, and I was laughing, like, thinking, how stupid are these idiots that they believed in this? And it was like, the word God, okay, well, what does that mean? And who's to say that this God I'm told about is right? And then
right.
Still that other thought that, okay, well, if one religion has these beliefs, then by default, everybody that isn't a part of that religion is wrong, right? So how can you ever know which one is right or which one is wrong? Because there's so many.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, there's obviously specks of truth in all religions and whatever, but I don't know.
A lot of them are pretty similar. They're just kind of a different story, telling the same kind of, or some of them are similar stories even, or related stories, but they're just kind of, a lot of them are teaching the same kind of morals and lessons.
Yeah, honesty, whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just unnecessary, and church is boring,
Yeah.
It's so boring.
That's one of the big ones, yeah, especially as a kid. I mean, what kid enjoys going to church?
Yeah.
For sure.
What did you grow up?
Catholic, but I wouldn't say very strict. Like I was confirmed at probably 12 or something, which is like one of the steps. And but I think that was like the last time I went to church, other than maybe a couple weddings, like going to mass at some weddings. But it was never. I was never in a strongly religious family. My dad was never really religious. My mom went to Catholic school and stuff, but she had issues with the church because of when she was in school, they would like hit them, with rulers and stuff, like on their knuckles, and then of course about all the pedophilia and stuff, and she just thinks it's kind of sick. But I went a little bit to like Sunday school and stuff, but at that age, it's kind of like indoctrination. It's like I'm just memorizing. I don't know what I'm saying when I'm memorizing a prayer. I'm just memorizing the words to regurgitate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and you go to church and they teach the same things over and over and over again. It's like, I get it. It's like,
yeah.
It's
Have
just
you thought
redundant.
about that with the Pledge of Allegiance? Like when you were a kid, did you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance every day?
Yeah, I remember doing that like up until 6th grade. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But do you think when you were a kid you were actually thinking about what it was you were saying? Or do you think you were just kind of... Because I think I was just reciting something and definitely not thinking. And when you think about it, when I look back on that and when you think about the words that are said, it's kind of crazy as well. Like, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't... How's it go? And one republic... I don't know, something...
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
One nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I never really thought about it.
Yeah. Which is something I kind of realized as an adult, like when I looked back on what I was saying. It just one of those things that's funny because I think most kids aren't thinking about what it is they're actually saying. I think even a lot of school for me was
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
kind of
it's a lot of
regurgitating shit.
indoctrination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
What were you like as a student? Like early years. Because you've talked about having ADD and
yeah, I mean, yeah, I was always daydreaming for
yeah,
sure.
me too.
I was bad at math, but I passed. I was mostly decent, like B's and C's.
Yeah. Do you think have you thought about that much? Were you medicated for ADD, ADHD, whatever?
Yeah, and well, not until I was 22.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me first ask about the younger years when you weren't. Actually, how do I want to say this? Because I would definitely say that I have ADD as well, or ADHD, whatever.
Yeah.
But I never took medication for it. And at some point, probably when I was around 30, I kind of was looking into it more and started to see it as that's another thing, like not just boys, but a lot of kids. It's like who wants to focus on something they're not interested in?
Right. Yeah. It's
Right?
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So then I also started to realize about the like super focus or hyper focus or whatever. Like people with ADD or ADHD are definitely not stupid, and a lot of are pretty clever.
Yeah.
But it's like if society or the way the game is supposed to be played is, yeah, you go to school from this time to this time. We want you to be focused. This is also what's kind of preparing you for the real world where you're going to be in office from this time to this time, and we're going to train you with skills
it's very
or
it's very Orwellian.
yeah.
And yeah, it's like it's a Brave New World. I don't know.
Yeah. So when you did get medicated, I'm curious to know what kind of improvements you felt from it, pros and cons.
Pros, it's like I don't know. It's like you can focus.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me figure out. Yeah, I just felt so much more present and confident socially. Just yeah, more excited to do stuff. Obviously it's like because it's like it's an upper.
Yeah.
But the cons are when then you come down, you can be a little cranky and a little robotic, and you build a tolerance, and you don't sleep as well. But overall, the last 10 years, I feel like last 12 years, it's had a net positive on my life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
so. Do you still take medication?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
all
took
right.
some today.
Yeah. All right. And have you gone periods within that of having no medication?
Yes.
And what is that like after being used to? It's almost like the way I can imagine it is like you have your baseline, like life is normal, and then you take some kind of oh wow, you take something and it's like okay, now
Yeah.
I see how differently the brain can function, and then to go back to that baseline or that normal. I'm curious how.
It's weird. Like, in a way, I'll be in a better mood sometimes when I go off it for like a week, because then it's like I'm more myself. I'm more. What's the word? Just looser, but
Okay.
and like laid back and
Yeah.
just more goofier and whatever, and I laugh easier, and
Interesting.
when I'm but at the same time I won't get any work done.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
these compromises, they have to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sometimes. So
No, I ask because I've considered trying medication just also to see what it's like. Because I'm definitely I live a very different way, and I've learned how to live a way that works. But in terms of typical motivation, I'm motivated by some things, but probably not the things that society says I should be motivated by. So when it comes to a lot of that, I'm curious to see how.
Well, how are you getting money now to live?
So I work in event production. So
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's freelance, and that's one of the main reasons I like it, because
Cool.
I take winters off, so I don't have to like quit a job. Companies call me and say, "Hey, are you available on this date to work?" I say, "Yeah, okay." So I work, and a lot of times it's fun. It's mostly audio, video, and lighting, like setting up for sometimes corporate events, concerts, all sorts of things. So.
All right.
But I'm kind of looking to transition away from that, because
What are you using, like an app to get gigs?
No, I just kind of randomly fell into it. When I first, like the first summer I was out here in Colorado, it was like around the beginning of COVID, and I had a roommate who worked in film production. I ended up on set with him one day, and I really liked it. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" It's like, I don't know if you've done much like film outside of your own doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've been on some real sets before. It's
All
definitely, yeah, it's a lot. There's there's a lot that goes into it. It's like
it's incredible.
completely different than YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I think one thing I liked about that was because it was like, there's producers in here, there's a team from New York, and then there's people in here from LA, a guy from Madrid, a photographer from France. Like, people are from all over, and I enjoyed that aspect, because after traveling for so many years and meeting so many people from all over, I thought, oh wow, this is the closest thing I've ever felt to like that travel type of lifestyle.
yeah,
And
lots
and
of
then one day I was,
it's an eclectic community.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then one day I was on a photo shoot, and I met a guy who had a event production business. So I was like, "Oh, do you hire?" He said, "Yeah." And so I got into that. The pay was better, and I didn't get so much. I was just doing PA work, like production assistant, and that's like the bottom of the barrel, And I'm like,
Yeah.
38 years old, and I'm a PA doing this work that 18-year-olds do. But I like it, but you know what I mean? It's like, where's my upside from here?
Yeah, that's one of my regrets, actually. In LA, I had so much free time, and I goofed off.
Yeah.
I could have just done PA stuff for fun.
Yeah.
But I've also heard PA, like, after
That's
like a
grunt
couple
work.
days, it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't. You're driving people around, and it's work, So
Yeah.
it's not as glamorous as you'd think. Yeah.
No, you gotta be honest. Like, you're you're working, you're setting up tents, you're driving around, you're going to get stuff, and long days too. You're probably working
Yeah.
10, 12, 14, 16-hour days. Depends, because you're the first there, like setting up and making but but there's aspects of the industry that are cool.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who doesn't want to make movies? But I worked on this student film last year. Or no, it was a couple buddies out here I met out, and we were entering a film festival. It was a 24-hour film festival.
All right.
And it sucked. Like, I did not like doing that.
Okay.
Like, it was just so tedious, and like setting
like
up
the
each
format,
shot.
yeah.
Taking an hour to set up a 5-second shot. It was like, oh my gosh, maybe I don't want to make movies. Like,
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Some of these budgets too, like some of the money that you're doing, like an independent project, right? So it's not like it's funded. But
Right.
I mean, some of these, probably most like budget films, the amount of like work that goes into these tedious things that to me wouldn't even matter at all. I worked on one like feature, one film it's on Amazon Prime. We went to Nebraska. We had to set up this gas station to make it look like it was the 80s and stuff. And I'm sure they spent at least like 30, 40 grand on just us being there and setting that up. And I watched the movie last year, and it's like you don't see anything that we did. It's like it's unbelievable. Like, what a waste. And they flew out, like, they had some scenes from around there, but this whole gas station scene that, like, the art director and stuff that's, like, being so meticulous about these things, and it's like, then it doesn't even get in there. It's like, what a waste. So ridiculous.
That's funny. Yeah, movies are. If you watch Shark Tank, I think some people have pitched movie ideas, and they're all immediately like, no, movies are the worst investment of all time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, some of them blow it out of the park, right? But that's probably not the norm at all.
well, I mean, I look at like Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, and I'm like, oh man, that looks so easy to do, and they made it like $100 million, and
Yeah.
so that's the dream, is to come
Those
up
are the
with
ones
something
that blow
like
it out of the
that.
park that make people think, movies are awesome to make and profitable. Because, Blair Witch, come on, they got these, like, simple little cameras at the time. And
Yeah.
that was incredible.
Blair Witch is just a long vlog.
Yeah.
But if you look deeper, they were trained actors, obviously, and then they set up like big speakers in the woods to make the little kids noises. Just the directors just knew what they were doing for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did they have any kind of I don't want to say fame, but did they have much? Were they known before that? Do you know?
No, they
Even though they're a director and producer and actors and stuff, they're not necessarily like experienced to a high level. But it's
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the directors, or producers or whatever, went to film school. But I know, like, for the marketing of Blair Witch, they purposely had them not do any interviews or press interviews leading up to it and after it, to give the illusion that they really died or whatever.
It was really
So I was 9 when that came out, and
right.
I remember everyone was talking about it like it was a real thing.
Yeah, I remember, like, I saw it at the theaters, and I remember, like, questioning, like, that seems real. Like, is that real? And it was still, like, questionable at the time. And then, of course, it came out.
They made it look real. I thought the acting was amazing. So yeah.
Were you like, when you got started on YouTube? Did you have much interest in the film industry, in production, in any of that? Or were you just kind of having fun and, like, throw it up there and see?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while I'll get an itch to, like, do something traditional, some kind of comedy sketch or something to do with acting and whatever, and bigger projects, but it's few and far between. It's just, I don't know. It's too much work.
Have you ever considered stand-up?
Yeah, I've tried stand-up a couple times, but that's scary too.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
No, well, one day, but that was kind of a joke. That was when I was in Korea, and I did. I didn't write my own material, but when I was like 10 years old or something, I bought a book at a garage sale for like 10 cents. It was called 101 Hamburger Jokes, and it was so bad. It's so lame and so dry that I went up and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this as a joke, right? Sarcastically. So I go up and start. But that's it. It's something that I've liked, but I think like the writing process and stuff, like I don't even know where to begin.
Writing is a whole nother beast. Yeah.
Some people have like a good sense of humor, but aren't like stand-up. Some people have that discipline to be able to write things and work on it, and
I think like naturally being funny and writing jokes are very different things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But having a good sense of humor and obviously that leads to
that helps. Yeah.
With stand-up and stuff.
Yeah.
But how was your experience? Did you feel like you kind of bombed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was mostly other comics, open mic nights, like 90%
Yeah.
just other comics. And got up there, said some dumb shit. What did I say? Like, I would be a terrible weatherman. Like, because I can't really talk really well. And so, and then I do an example of how I'd do the weather or something. So it's going to be sunny tomorrow. I don't know. And then I got down, and it was terrifying. But yeah, I mean, someday it's one of those things. I'm like, I'll get around to doing that someday.
Yeah, yeah. I got another question, like related to this, because especially when your first videos got really big, it was all awkward moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were the king of awkward, right? It wasn't that kind of what you were called.
Yeah.
When you were in those situations, were you uncomfortable when you were filming it, or were you kind of in the mindset that I'm kind of playing around and I'm...
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely not comfortable.
Yeah, okay. You can't fake that, huh?
There's no escaping the cringe feeling of doing something. You definitely feel their auras hating you or
Yeah.
judging you still. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you're like, "Oh my god, this is great footage." So it's kind of bittersweet, you know.
But also, I think you get strong. I mean, it's like it's not going to kill you, and when you realize that it's like getting outside your comfort zone is one of the most important things in life, I think. And you did a lot of that. And did you feel like over the years it got easier, or was it still always awkward, uncomfortable? I mean,
always, yeah. I kind of sometimes I feel like it's gotten harder as I've gotten older, because it's like what are you doing? You're 34 and you're. It's like, grow the fuck up, man. You know? And when you're 22, it's like no one gives a shit like what you're doing.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
No one holds these standards to you because you're still a kid. But
yeah,
the older you get, the kind of more cringy and goofy it looks if you're like just fucking with people for a living.
Yeah. But then at the same time, I also say, okay, society says you're 34 or whatever, you should be doing something else. But then I also think, no, there's no rules, and most people who are adults benefit from being kids, from playing, from
I think that's what
right?
That's like Will Ferrell, all the greats. They maintain that.
Yeah.
They keep that childlike attitude, and I need to remember that. So.
And more adults, I'm positive, could benefit from like dropping that idea that I'm this age, so I should be. Well, in a lot of ways, maturity. You should mature over time, but that doesn't mean you can't still act like an idiot and be a kid and have fun. Just play. I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, but I think it's like as you get older, you just don't find much stuff funny.
Yeah.
Or you just don't. And then I think, like, why do I not think any of this is funny? Like, how do I get stuff to be funny again? And it's just like it's a little battle.
Yeah. I've noticed that about myself, is like I feel, okay, I used to be, I don't want to say I used to be funny, but I used to be funnier. And since I've gotten older, I feel like I'm not like so serious still, but I feel like I've gotten more
boring.
Yeah, well, definitely, but also more. Yeah, I don't know.
Like I feel
explain, but
it is weird. It's almost like the world and life has just kind of chipped away at you till there's no more.
Oh, that's
there's
sad.
no more. There's no more.
No more joy. No more.
No more ability to laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's why it's like you gotta just keep exercising and do what you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you exercise?
Sometimes, yeah, not as much as I should. I go in kind of in periods, in phases. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it depends on where I'm at. Because I don't have any. I don't want to say I don't have any stability in life. I don't have any schedule. So it's like much of my life, especially when I was traveling for so many years, it's like I wake up, decide what to do throughout the day. I don't have any schedule at all, and
That's
I
yeah.
do, I do
That's
appreciate that, but then at some points I thought, oh man, it would be nice to be like disciplined, have like a schedule for a while. But then when I'm like that, I'm like, ah, I like being free. I like having that freedom, but it comes at a cost as well.
definitely. I've never been able to hold like a really solid schedule for more than a week or two.
Yeah,
Like I'll get up at 6 a.m. I'm like, all right, this
yeah.
is my life now.
Yeah,
And then 2 days later, you're
Yeah.
up at 3 in the morning, and you're like, fuck, I'm sleeping in.
yeah.
So, are you a night
But
owl?
No, but
I've always been a night
yeah.
owl.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of more of a morning person. So yeah, I'm kind of I
Well,
go
that's
to bed
good.
fairly early, especially since I've been older, and I've started to like really pay attention to my sleep and like prioritize getting good sleep because my next day, I mean, it can be so dramatically different if I have like good sleep or bad sleep. I don't drink coffee or anything, so it's
Wow.
like I just know when I wake up and have this like clear head. Okay,
Yeah.
that feels fucking good. And if I
Yeah.
wake up feeling like groggy or whatever, and if especially if I have to do something, if I have to work, like my work is kind of labor intensive,
Right.
and it's like I
You don't-
really prioritize my sleep before that because if I don't feel good during work and having to do all that shit for 10 hours a day, it's like it's
Yeah.
rough.
You don't have any stimulants at all?
No,
Wow. It's
No.
been like I think it's been years since I've ever gone a day without some kind of stimulant.
so I like coffee, and if I drink caffeine, like I'll feel really good. I
Yeah.
started to see how much of a drug it is. Like it's great, but for the last 4 years or so, I started having sleep issues. And if I drink coffee, then I'm most definitely I have no problem falling asleep, but then I'll wake up. So I'll wake up after an hour or two and be up for like a couple hours, and then wake up feeling a bit more groggy. So that's the main reason I don't drink coffee now, and I don't think
Yeah.
it's bad for you or something. It's just that most most of my life up until I was 30, I never really drank coffee, and then when I
Wow.
was living in Thailand, they have on the street they have these. It's like probably the least healthy form of coffee. They take um, the dried coffee, the powdered coffee or whatever, instant, right?
Yeah.
And they have like a little glass of hot water, and then they pour a scoop of that instant coffee into there, and then a scoop of like dried creamer, like fake creamer, and they
Yeah.
put it in there, and then they take sweetened condensed milk, and then they pour it in there, and then they mix it up, and then pour it over ice, and it is so good, but it's just all trash,
Yeah.
garbage.
Huh.
But that's when I kind of started drinking coffee a bit, but it never really stuck. I was never a daily coffee guy.
Mm.
Have you had withdrawal? Actually, two questions about that. Have you had you haven't had days without coffee? Like, would you feel withdrawal, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I'd be a little more cranky than usual.
All right, but you wouldn't feel like so physically ill or shitty.
I don't think so. I
That was the
might
question
might
about-
fall asleep. Like I might take a nap,
Yeah. And then that was a
So-
question about like ADD medication. If when you take those weeks off, do you feel any kind of like physical dependency where you're like no shaking or like
No, you're just really lethargic for a couple days, and then
Okay.
then you feel normal after like a couple
Yeah, right.
days.
yeah,
So,
all right.
is it hot in Denver?
Yeah, it's probably generally around mid-90s.
It's been so hot lately.
Yeah, and you got more humidity there.
Yeah, it was like 95 today. I hate it.
All right. Yeah, that's rough.
But
Well, man, I appreciate your time. It's been like an hour and 10 minutes now. I don't want to like waste your time. I know you probably got things to do, but I'll let you go.
yeah, what are you doing now?
Well, nothing. You know, I got to take this dog out in a little bit, take the dog for a walk.
Is it a pit
Literally
bull?
take the dog. It's actually a pit lab mix.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good dog. She's lovely, actually. She's super sweet.
Tight.
That's been kind of a nice thing as well about.
Have you seen my
sitting.
dog?
No, you still. Is this a dog you've had for a long time?
This is Bonnie. I've had her for.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've had her for like 8 years.
All right, nice.
Yeah, and then
What is she?
She's a Boston Terrier.
Okay.
And then I have this one, if you can see her.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got her 6 months ago.
Is that also a Boston Terrier?
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of like Frenchies, right? I mean, similar.
Yes. Yeah, people
Yeah.
always think they're Frenchies. Oh.
I watched a Frenchie last year, and I absolutely fell in love with her. Like, those
Yeah.
dogs are so awesome.
They don't have as much as a pushed-in face as a Frenchie, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
All right, man.
Well, all right, man. Well, yeah, thanks again. It was really nice chatting with you. Enjoy
course.
the rest of your night.
All right,
Take care.
you too. All right, I'll
Ciao.
see you.